Well, hello, Sara Anna. How are you, my dear?
I am doing so well. So happy to be here, Lindsay.
Yes, welcome to the Passionista podcast. I am just so excited. I'm so pumped for everybody to meet you and hear your story. I always tell everybody that when these interview episodes go out on Wednesdays, it's really hearing from passionistas, which you are a passionista girl
I
because
love that term. I'm honored to be called a
yes,
passionista.
you are a passionista. And what that means is just like you're on the journey and you have walked through finding what you're passionate about and turning that into a reality. And so you've got so much to share today. But just before we get into your journey, can you share with everybody who you are and kind of what you do?
Yes. So thanks so much again for having me on. I'm so pumped to be here. My name is Sara Anna Powers. My friends call me Anna. So that's what all of y'all can call me. And I'm an online business coach and copywriter. So I really have two ways that I serve people. I serve pretty established online businesses from a copywriting perspective. And then for people who are newer and still finding their footing and finding their voice, I serve them through online business coaching programs as a private mentor or through a mastermind that I run and through my 8-week copywriting course, Magnetic Messaging.
Yes. And so what I love, and you've helped me for sure with this, is that you really help women find their voice and help them translate that, to the online space. And we're going to talk more about that in a minute. But what I want to know is, you haven't always been this person that's doing masterminds and helping people write copy and
Right.
doing all this fun stuff. Okay. You didn't just wake up and go, oh yeah, this is what I do. I help women get connected to their purpose and find their voice and write and all of this. So kind of take us back. Tell us a little bit about you, maybe, because I know you've got so much in your story to share, but tell us about the journey of kind of owning this business for yourself and owning this lifestyle, because I know you once were on the track to be a lawyer, to be a partner in a firm. You were like Ivy League school girl, so take us back.
Yeah, so I love that you're asking this, Lindsay, because I've told this to multiple people in my life this year. I feel more like myself now than I've felt since I was maybe 7, 8 years old.
Wow. And how old are you now, if that's okay for me to ask?
Oh, we're among friends. I'm 38.
Yes.
So basically, 3 decades in the wilderness.
Mm-hmm. Always.
But really, the way that it unfolded is, if I think back to when I was a little girl, I was so creative. I loved to sing. I was playing piano from the time I was 3 because my aunt was a pianist and taught me how to play. So I'd write songs. I would write poetry. I would design these ridiculous, completely insane dream houses that were my friend would have the same one and we were going to connect them with monorails. I mean, it was just creativity to the max.
Yeah.
And that was me at my core.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up with, mom and a dad both worked full time. We were kind of middle class to upper middle class and, lived in a little 2-story house, went to the nice private school. And I thought, well, I don't want to give up this standard of life. So I better figure out something that I can do to make money. And you'll probably laugh, but I used to love The Cosby Show, and I saw Claire Huxtable on The Cosby Show, and she was a lawyer, and she was a powerful woman who looked like she had time. And either she had gone to Princeton or another character, somebody on that show had gone to Princeton. So I made up my mind that I was going to go to Princeton and be a lawyer. And so that's the path that I pursued. And I really jumped through all the hoops that I felt it was necessary for me to jump through to get to that end goal. And I put so much pressure on myself. And, even I stayed in touch with some of the creativity. Like, I was the lead in the school plays. I even did an equity play when I was 16, 17. But when it came time to really make a decision as to where I was going to take my future, and in college, am I going to study music or drama, or am I going to do something that will prepare me for law school? I just had already bought into that world's message that if you want to have success, it has to look like a certain thing. And someone who like ups and moves to New York and lives in a little 1-bedroom and waits tables while auditioning for Broadway is not the world's definition of success.
Right.
And so I went the other way, and I thought, well, God gave me this intelligence. So and I like to argue. So let me be a lawyer. And so that's how I really got into, pursuing that career.
Yeah.
With twists and turns along the way, by the way, worked my tail off to get into Princeton. And then when I got the big fat acceptance letter, my parents realized how much it cost.
Yeah.
That our upper middle class lifestyle wasn't going to be able to get me there. And so ended up going to law school and just realized as I got into the legal profession that it wasn't at all what I had thought. And ironically, the money really wasn't following me. I mean, I made decent money, but I wasn't making like TV show lawyer money. And so I had to do some real soul searching. Like it really started to hit me, I actually chose this not based on feeling like God's call on my life was to be a lawyer, but like this was the thing that I could do to have the standard of living that I wanted. And do you hear how many eyes
Yeah. So Sara Anna, I'm just thinking, did you ever have a moment in this deal, like when you're like, okay, I've hustled, I've achieved, I've done whatever it has taken to, I wanted to go to Princeton. I could have gone to Princeton, but I didn't, but I still, got the degree. I'm chasing this dream that I made up. So when did you have this moment where you're like, this is not what I'm supposed to be doing? Like I've created something for myself, like you just said, that was my version, my dream. And I put who I really am up on the shelf away. So when did you kind of have like that, the moment, like, this is not what I'm supposed to be doing?
It wasn't one moment. It was a gradual unfolding and knowing at my core. And it was just a series of, like, the longer I was in that legal job, I mean, I knew pretty quickly, like, I don't like this. But what I didn't know was, am I allowed to not like this?
Yeah. Can I change? Can I do something else?
I mean, all the people through my life who've supported me in, getting that college degree, who've supported me in pursuing my law career, which is what I always said I wanted. All the people who, who've helped me through that, amazing professors, my family who let me live in their condo while I was in school so I didn't have to, work and go to school. Was I allowed to let them down to pursue what I thought actually was meant for me? And it took truly for me years of soul searching and testing the waters, like dipping my toe in, with the whole online business thing, like emptying my savings, making some investments that I could make without upsetting the apple cart too much.
Right.
To start to try this thing out. And then the more that I was in the coaching world, the more in love with it I fell.
Yeah.
And because honestly, there was a piece of me who was very loyal to my core in not pursuing like acting or drama. And that was that, like, some of my morals did not agree with it. Some of the things, even as like a 17-year-old, that I was being asked to do when I would, like, I remember I got the lead in a play. It was just a local theater, but I was supposed to kiss this like married guy, who's married in real life. And I was like,
I'm not doing that. Oh my gosh.
And so I knew that if I continued on that path, like there were ways in which it would not align. And obviously you can always make the decision to turn down certain roles. So there were ways that I was honoring myself in not pursuing that. And for me, being able to be in the coaching world and draw out the best from my sisters in Christ and other women who may be on a similar path that I was on, like, that's way better than playing some other character on a stage. It's like, even though it's like God always is protecting you. And like that whole law journey was not wasted one bit. I used so much of my training from, speaking at hearings, like to now being on group coaching calls where people are just coming at you with questions and you got to think on your feet and be able to really serve them, to the writing, all this brief writing that I used to do to persuade people in law. Now I do direct sales marketing, and so I'm persuading people to get these services that are going to like positively transform their lives.
Yeah. Yeah. And the perseverance and the work ethic, which you have to have as an entrepreneur, and the adaptability.
That because I think there's so much like make money online real fast, 5 figures in 10 days. And that's not, what I've experienced by any means.
No way. Entrepreneurship is a journey. And speaking of you talking about stepping, off into the coaching world, you originally got started with health coaching. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So take us into that journey. I'm trying to like help everyone like with the timeline here. Okay. So you have, gone through this journey of law school, and now you're at a law firm, and you are starting to realize this dream that I've worked so hard for is not me anymore. It's time for the next assignment, right? I've learned the lessons, and you start dipping your toes in the water of coaching. And you originally started with health coaching because you have a story of overcoming an eating disorder, and you helped women through that. So can you kind of share a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So I was about 5 years into my law practice. And I just came to the point where I knew I could not continue down that path. It was no longer worth it to me. I had given, my nights, my weekends, my vacation, missed my grandfather's funeral, like made so many sacrifices for pursuing that career. And I could see that it simply was not where I was meant to stay. So that part became very clear after 5 years. So the next step was I applied for coaching myself because I at least had done enough personal development just with reading books and things to know that we can't always see our blind spots.
Right.
And we need someone to step in and really help us navigate some of the waters that other people have already traversed. Mm-hmm. And they can help us like steer the ship more easily. So I applied for coaching through Dan Miller's company, actually thinking that I would get a coach who would help me repurpose my legal skills into another job.
Right.
Not thinking I was going to start my own business at all. Mm-hmm. And as I talked through my personal story with my coach, she said, oh my goodness, like you can help women, because I shared with her about having been anorexic. So when I was 19, I really started down this path of not eating. And all through life, I had been the smartest. I had been a lot, I'm not saying this, please, people listening to Lindsay's podcast don't think that I'm super big-headed, but like I had been the most, I was literally voted the most talented. I was the valedictorian. So, most talented, smartest.
You were an achiever.
But I had never been the skinniest.
Gotcha.
And ironically enough, I went on a mission trip for about 6 weeks in Argentina, the summer of 1999. And one of the gals on my team had been anorexic. Now I was already into the achieving, that achieving cycle, but then being around someone who was restricting their food, it kind of like something weird went off in my brain. Oh, maybe that's the answer. Maybe I could do that too. And it started me down a 4-year cycle of just heavily restricting calories to the point I'm 5'7". You guys know all my stats, 38 years old, 5'7". At the time, I got down to 103 pounds.
Wow.
Which, and let's be real. I mean, I think it's valuable to share, like my body literally would not function. Wow. I couldn't have a period for over a year. Like literally my bodily, woman functions shut down.
Yeah.
And when you get to that stage, you know that something is seriously wrong.
Mm-hmm. Right. And so then you went through treatment, correct?
I went through treatment in 2003. And wouldn't you know that that wasn't the end, though, of my journey, because I got out of the treatment. My body was much healthier. My brain was kind of regulated to a place that I could start to make better decisions for myself. And then I was in a relationship that was not a healthy relationship for me. Moved away, not to get out of the relationship, but was actually pretty excited that moving away would kind of give me a natural excuse to leave this relationship.
Right.
Right. I was like, oh, darn, I have to move. Oh, well.
Dang. And by the way, we're done. All right.
And yet realized after I moved that there were actually like lots of pieces of myself that I had given away in ways that I had gotten away from my own integrity within that relationship. I had so much processing to do, and I just didn't have the skills to do it at that point in life. So the skill that I used was actually binge eating.
Yeah.
So I binge ate my way up to 220 pounds. And that is, and for anyone who has been anorexic and your whole identity is tied up with how skinny you are, to then go the other way and be like your size 16 jeans are cutting into your waistband, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
But God uses all things for good.
That's right.
And if I had not gone that way too, I don't know that I would ever have truly been mentally free. Like I could have been physically free from the anorexia, but for me, I used to pray, Lindsay, I hope, dear Lord, please, let me do your will today, and please don't let me get fat. Not even joking. Like that was my prayer.
Wow.
Like, please don't let me get fat. Please don't let me get fat. Please don't let me get fat. And so guess what? I got fat.
Because what you focus on grows. What you fear, you create in many ways.
And God was so good to step into my life when I was at that heaviest point. I remember looking in the mirror and I felt like I couldn't even recognize myself because my face shape changed even.
Right.
And I gained it all really fast too. I mean, I was binging. It wasn't like a slight, we're getting older and we gain a few pounds each year. It was like I'm just packing it on, emotionally eating.
Right.
But he stepped in to a moment and just revealed to me that he loved me. And that his love for me was not dependent upon my size.
That's right.
He loved me just as much at 103 pounds as at 135 pounds, as at 150, as at 220. And that he wasn't mad at me.
Yes. So
because
good.
I had felt I was like condemning myself every time I binge eat. I was condemning myself when I was anorexic, but he really just through his spirit, spoke to me. I'm not mad at you. I love you. I want the best for you. No, I don't want you eating a whole large pizza, but not because I'm mad at you when you do, because I just want better for you. I just want better for you.
I want you to love you like I love you.
Yes. And so I started shifting my actions when I viewed myself. I just started really trying to view myself more and more as God viewed me. And it made it easier to just stop at 2 pieces of pizza, because all of a sudden, if I was loved and I was cared for, I didn't need those extra pieces of pizza to fill that void.
That's right.
And so it was a very slow process of losing that weight, because I did do it I didn't do anything extreme, but God was just so faithful. And that is how I got into the health coaching, because I had this very, obviously, you can say I'm almost tearing up talking about it. I had this very emotional connection to that work. And I still have a huge heart for women who struggle with that.
Yeah.
And here's the interesting piece about that, though. I had a heart for that ministry. I actually didn't want to create that business.
Ooh, that's so good. Well, let's back up for just a second, because I think this is such a good point. And first of all, Anna, thank you so much for being vulnerable and brave and sharing that. And what I really see in just outside looking in, you've never shared this story with me before, is you really overcame perfectionism, a big root of perfectionism with
Yeah.
this whole thing, like I've got to be perfect in order to be loved. So I'll be anorexic. And then the shame of not being perfect or not knowing how to deal perfectly with your trauma and things that you were going through, overcoming, because that's why you were medicating. It's like, God loves you. You're enough. You don't have to be a certain size to be loved. And it just seems to me like that whole perfectionism thing that we all deal with, that we all struggle with, just got dismantled in you. And I'm just so grateful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I just want to commend you for being brave enough to share that and going through that journey and, using that, what your struggles, what you went through, the lessons that you've learned to minister to other women. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
And the other part of this that we're about to get into is like the assignments were changing. Okay. And, I talk about this a lot. I think I even talked about it on your podcast too, is like the calling is the same. Like the calling is that theme of your life, but the assignments are going to change. And what you go through is for you to learn the lesson in that season and that assignment. So you had this heart for women and you wanted to minister to women in this way, but it wasn't what you wanted to do as a business.
Yeah.
So unpack that a little bit.
Yes. So this is something so key for any of your listeners who are coaches or mentors, or they're working with coaches or mentors, is your coaches and mentors, they're there to draw the best out of you. Yes. They're not there to tell you, your coach is not there to tell you what you should do. Your coach is there to ask the powerful questions that will draw out the best, the sweetest, I almost want to say the goodest, the goodest stuff from you.
And sometimes tell you what you don't want to hear.
It totally call you out on your stuff. I have 100% been there with a mentor that I worked with.
Yes.
Praise God for it. We all need that as long as it's done in love. So when I met with that coach and she heard my life, my story and some of the things I had walked through, and she made that suggestion, somewhere deep inside me, I knew that wasn't it. My heart had always been for women leaders, like women who were rocking it, like Claire Huxtable on the Cosby Show.
Yes. Your passion for that type of woman that, well, not going to say type, but I believe we're all called to influence a certain group of people. I'm not sure what the right word is for that, but you're called to a certain people, I believe. And so even from a young age, you knew that's who I want to work with. And you were passionate about that.
My people, the women that I work with in my one-on-one programs and my groups, like, they are motivated. They are ambitious. They are on fire. They are, they are achievers, but they have a perspective on they're achieving for something beyond just like checking a box. Like they have a vision and they're going after it. Like that Proverbs 31 woman, it just cracks me up that we talk about her so much, about all these great things, but I mean, hello, ladies making money.
Yes, girl. She's a businesswoman. Hello.
It's closing fine, Scarlett.
Oh, she got her house in order. She's delegating, telling people what's up.
Exactly. Even has people who are doing it for her. Her people are taking care of her stuff. So,
girl, you better preach. We need to do a whole other episode about the Proverbs 31 woman, dismantling that whole deal. Yes.
So I knew in my gut, like, I really, like, what I wanted to do, frankly, was what my coach was doing with me. I was like, health coaching, I kind of want to do what you do.
Because you were passionate about that. Yes, that is so key. And I want everybody to listen in to what Sara Anna is saying. And it's that, like, you've got to get in tune with what lights you up, to pay attention.
Alignment.
Alignment. Yes. So good.
And so I I didn't have that confidence in myself, and the enemy stepped in with lies that I wasn't good enough. I couldn't possibly build a business like she had built because I didn't have the same economic resources that she had. Like, she was married, and so there was someone else kind of, helping with the finances. All the lies of all the reasons you can't do. And I bought into that. So I said, okay, well, the health coaching thing I can do. I know I can do that. So let me try to do that. And that business just never clicked. Like, I wrote some amazing content that I know touched and helped people. I did have some clients, but it never was a sustainable business. So from a financial perspective, I made $50 the whole first year, the entire first year. That first coaching package I bought was $3,500 for 6 calls.
Right.
And then the second year I made just under $2,500, which some people might be like, oh, $2,500, like, that's not bad. But you and I know, Lindsay, what it requires to run a business like this. You have to invest a lot.
Yep.
Not as much as a brick and mortar generally, but
it's still a lot.
Yeah. So I got about almost 2 years in, about 1 year and 8 months in, and I just felt like a total failure. And I was actually at a coaching event in London with a mentor I was working with, and she happened to choose me in God's providence as one of the sample coaching sessions. And I stood at the front of the room, almost in tears, and just said, I am a failure. And praise God that she called me out on that.
Yeah, on point. Said, no, ma'am.
Yes. And she said, what are you talking about? You are an attorney. You're licensed in 2 states. You flew across the world to be at this program. And I said, but I haven't made money in my business. So I'm a failure. I feel like a failure. And that is when she started asking the questions about, well, who are you working with? Is that who you really want to work with? Yeah. How are you serving them? Is that how you really want to serve them? And man, I think at that point, I just felt like I had nothing to lose. I might as well just flip and be honest with myself.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the only way that we grow and change.
Yeah. But it was me being afraid to be honest. Yeah. And let me backtrack on that. There was one session that I had with that first coach where I was honest. And I said, I think I don't want to do health coaching. I think I want to do leadership coaching. And she was on board with me. She was like, okay, great. If that's what you feel called to do, let's talk about that. She pivoted with me and was right there with me. And I went and I told one of my friends, and at the time a mentor that I worked with at the law office, that's what I was thinking about doing instead. And she said, well, I might bring my daughter to you for leadership, but I wouldn't look to you for leadership because
I'm jealous.
Well, again, I'm not going to put, I'm going to let that, be what it is. But at the time I thought, oh no, like, here's someone I respect who's telling me she wouldn't ever look to me for leadership because she herself is at a higher stage than me in this firm. And that she would let her 9 or 10-year-old daughter look to me for leadership. And I thought, but I don't want to lead little girl. I mean, no, there's nothing wrong with people who focus on like kids, high school.
It's not your people. That's not what you're called to.
It's not who I feel called to serve. And she said, but I would look to you for help because you are healthy and, you do eat well. And the point that I wanted to make in telling that story is that I let someone else's voice determine my path. And God's voice always has to take precedence over anybody else's voice, even people who are your friends, because I do not believe that was said to me in a mean-spirited way. I really genuinely believe that she thought I wouldn't succeed at the kind of business I run now and thought I would succeed at health. And that's what she was telling me. I truly believe that. But it wasn't the truth. It was just, it was her opinion.
Yeah. And they don't know. And this is something that I tell my gals all the time is like, you've got to follow what God is telling you. I think so many of us, and I'm kind of hearing you say some of this too. And it's interesting because so many of the women that I've interviewed have had a scenario like this in their life where they were like, okay, I've got this idea. I've got this thing. I feel like God's stirring this in my heart. Look, I'm being called to this. And then they go tell their friend, or they go tell somebody in their family. And that person is well-meaning, or sometimes not, but the reality is that people just get uncomfortable with us growing past them in the relationship. People, when their comfort zone starts to get threatened a little bit, or if there's a potential that this person is going to grow past them or things are going to change, it's like that self-protective or protective thing of you kicks in. And so, but we can't live our life based on the opinions of other people, because they're not living in our four walls. They're not paying our bills, and they don't know in our hearts what God has called us to. So it's so common, and I'm glad that you kept going. I'm glad that you didn't listen. So,
and thankfully at that event where I said I'm a failure, my mentor at the time called me out of that, asked me those deep questions, which again is the value of having a great coach to ask those questions that will help you be honest with yourself. And I decided, okay, well, what do I have left to lose at this point? I've run up a bunch of credit card bills, but business isn't making money anyway. May as well try what I really want to do. And I pivoted the day before a photo shoot that I had booked for health coaching. I had the whole plan was laid out with green juices and flowy dresses I would never wear in real life. And that's one clue. If you feel like you're having to dress up or put on a
thing and be inauthentic. Yep.
And so, what I wore in my photo shoot was the exact outfit that I had on that second day of the event. My outfit.
Yeah.
And she said, and go get a black dress, and I got a black dress that had leather detail that was exactly something I would wear to court, something I would wear to a party, even to church, it was just me. And I changed the whole focus of my business to business coaching, because she helped me see that even though I hadn't made a lot of money, of course I was equipped to help people in business, because I had built an online business. It wasn't a hugely profitable one, but I knew how to create a Facebook ad. I knew how to create a landing page. I knew how to write an email funnel. I knew how to set up a Squarespace website, all these things. And I knew all the pieces that you needed to be aware of to do.
Right.
And so I had spent, goodness, probably close to $50,000 learning all those things. Of course I could charge $1,500 for a coaching package to walk women through those steps that it took me $50K to learn.
That's right. That's right.
From there, that's where the copywriting really came in, because as I was, putting together my business coaching program, I started to think about how I could set myself apart in the marketplace and what was something tangible and concrete that I could deliver. And I love to write, like I mentioned, from the time I was itty bitty, I was writing, and I love to tell stories. And so I thought, let me look into copywriting. And I just threw myself into studying it, got myself great mentors and support to learn it from the very top of the field, and started low with my rates and got business, and those people were happy and they told other people, and then I could raise my rates, and then they told other people, and then I could raise my rates, and then I got my Ray Edwards endorsement, and now work with people in some of the top masterminds in the world in our industry, and an 8-figure business. And but here's the key. Once I stepped into alignment with what I really, really desired to do, and I used to think that following your desires was some gross worldly thing.
That meant you were selfish.
So selfish and not a good girl at all.
Yeah.
A terrible person, basically.
Because God would never want you to walk out what He called you to do.
Why would God want you to be happy? Imagine that. Okay, so when I thought back though on the verse, delight yourself in the Lord and He will give you the desires of your heart.
Yeah.
Why are these desires there? So I have a goal to speak on a stage in front of thousands of women.
Yeah.
Many people that would make them want to throw up. It is not their goal. Right. I do not ever want to go to outer space. That makes me want to throw up.
Yeah, agreed.
But there are people who they want to be astronauts. They want to experience that. So we all have all these different desires and things that are planted from our creator. And it isn't, in my opinion, I've come to believe it is your obligation to pursue those, because that is your talent that you've been given. That is God's investment in you. And it is your desire to go out and use it and multiply it for his kingdom.
Absolutely. And I love in your story, like, I mean, I'm just like, oh my gosh, she's like speaking my language right now. So many things that you're saying, like you overcame people's opinions. You overcame imposter syndrome. You kept showing up. You kept investing in yourself. You chose to get in alignment and say no to, no, that's not me. No, I'm not doing that. You learned how to say no. You, as I say, like you said no to the BS. You said no, 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 no. And yes, yes, yes to the God-given gifts and desires and things that were put in your heart. And that creativity, that gift that was planted in you from when you were a little girl of writing and telling stories, maybe it wasn't in that you're, a singer and on Broadway, but you're still using that gift of writing and telling stories every single day. Like that calling, that God-given passion and gift has been translated into different assignments throughout your life. And so I love everything that you just said. I'm all about it. But for people that like don't know, so let's kind of switch into like business for a minute.
Okay.
So, because there might be people listening right now that are like, what's copywriting? Is she still a lawyer? Is she talking about, is that a lawyer term? What is copywriting? What is copy?
It is doubly confusing because I do still hold my law licenses. I do not actively practice. And there is a legal term, copywriting, which is RIGHTING, which is about protecting your intellectual property. So it is something that online people need to be aware of, because
correct.
Courses and programs, like there's that.
Mm-hmm.
What I do is copywriting with a WRITING.
Mm-hmm.
And my quick definition is words that sell. Sometimes I say it's like Mad Men, but without the affairs and alcoholism.
Yeah, and chauvinism.
Right.
But listen, I love that show because you can, number one, it gets my little inner feminist just up and going.
Oh yeah.
But also like you really do learn so much about advertising and marketing and how people think. But okay, so you help people write words that sell, and you also help women, especially in faith-based businesses, find their voice and kind of translate that online. Is that correct?
Yes. So what I say is I help online entrepreneurs create magnetic messaging so that they can get more quality leads and make more sales. So basically, my goal when I'm working with a copywriting client is to get the essence of that business owner and to build the connection between that business owner and their absolute ideal soulmate dream client, and then to help them convey to that client why their particular program or service is going to be the bridge from that client's pain that they're in right now to all this possibility that exists in the future for that client.
Absolutely. And you know what I love about what you do is that you also help women write and find their voice and find their true messaging. And it's not in people are so ridiculous. Like, I don't want to be salesy. I don't want to be whatever.
Sales is service.
Exactly. Hello. Yes. And if you don't know how to talk to serve your people, then guess what? You're not going to be serving them. So, okay. Well, I know that you've got something really exciting coming up with your mastermind. So tell us about your mastermind.
Yes. Thank you so much for giving me the space, because this is something I'm totally, talk about a passionista. I'm totally on fire. I created this year a 6-month mastermind that I ran. We're about to wrap up. And I had never run a group that was extended like that. Like my copywriting course is 8 weeks, And I loved that so much that actually the mastermind was birthed from that, because I saw that there were people who still needed more support, but weren't quite ready to jump up to like a premium one-on-one package, because as you know, to work with, all we have is our time, right? So like to get one-on-one time, that's like the most premium thing that I offer. And it doesn't make sense for everybody at every stage in their business.
Mm-hmm.
So I created this mastermind, absolutely fell in love with the 15 faith-centered ladies who've been participating over the last 6 months. So I was like, for 2019, we are keeping this train moving, and we are enhancing it even more.
Right.
So what I created is called the Magnify Mastermind.
Mm.
And full year mastermind for women who want to magnify their results and success in business while magnifying God.
Oh, so good. Love that.
Because there's so much out there in this world, law of attraction, manifestation, woo-woo, crystals and angel cards and all this stuff. And to be honest, Lindsay, I think that a lot of things that the kind of more new agey coaches are saying, they work because they're
God created it. God created all of that.
If you're subject, and I think you and I have talked about this before, like you're subject to the law of gravity, whether you believe in it or not. Like it doesn't really matter. You're going down if you fall out of a tree.
Correct.
And I wanted to give women a space where they were free and not looked at with side eye or, Google cross eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is God's law. And, Jesus sacrificed so that we could be free of this lie. And not today, Satan.
That's right.
And that is that's the energy that we've had in my current group. And so the new group it's a full year. We have group sessions. I bring in an expert every month. We have live events. There are different tiers. So there's a tier where there is some one-on-one support and direct feedback from me on all the different pieces of creating an online business. And I'm just super thrilled to see ladies are already signing up. We actually have some bonus support happening over the next few months to see them and prepare them through the end of 2018. And that's what I'm up to.
So good. Well, I love that name. I love the name Magnify. And I know that we've only got like a few more minutes left, but why do you feel like it's so important for women to join a mastermind, to join a high level coaching group and be surrounded by other people like that?
Because frankly, we are unique. There are not a lot of people who are given the call to lead. Because if you're going to be a leader, there have to be people following you. And so they're just by nature of the way leadership works, there are going to be fewer leaders, more followers. And so what happens is when you are building a business, I'm in Madison, Mississippi. There are not a lot of people around me who understand what I'm doing. Like I can tell someone what I'm doing and they just look at me like I'm an alien.
Yeah.
That can be very isolating, especially when you're working online and you're already doing a lot of things like in your home, on your computer. We are made for community and relationship. If you think about made in the image of God, God himself is a relational God. God the Father, Holy Spirit, Jesus the Son, in relation to each other. So we're made to have relationships. And it is so crucial to have close relationships with other people who understand what you're going through and are walking a similar path. And the way that I put my masterminds together is I'm also looking for diversity of purpose so that the group has, someone who is a specialist in health, someone who is a therapist, someone who is a stylist, all the different things come together so that we as a group are so much stronger than we would be as individuals.
That's so good. Unity is diversity and harmony. So I just love that. Yeah. You've got to get around people. We do need community and we got to get around people that get what we're going through, but also that are different from us and that we can learn from. The mastermind that I'm a part of, that's how I feel like I've grown the most. And it's always good to get out of your bubble, what your comfort zone, and you're not going to grow unless you get out of your comfort zone. So the one last thing that I would say is also, I think that sometimes people maybe can struggle with faith-based, faith-centered, like God being a part of your business. So I think that being in a mastermind like this, where, hey, we're free to discuss this. This is not taboo. Like you said, this is not like, you know, you're looking at like you have three heads or whatever. Like I can remember one time I brought up, you know, something somewhere. So I was like, why would God care about your business? As if like, you know how we always want to compartmentalize our lives, and we think that, you know, well, this is up to me. This is on me, instead of like everything that I do is with him and he works through me, my business included.
Yes. And I mean, he cares about every detail, like down to the last hair on your head. He knows it all and he cares about it all. And yeah, that's definitely something that, you know, we open each mastermind call in prayer, and God is there, whether we open in prayer or not. Like God is there. But as the leader of that group and the facilitator, I want to invite the Holy Spirit in and say, like, soften our hearts. Let us hear what you have to say. Move us away from anything that isn't your path. Anything that is your path, like make those things pop up to the surface, you know, make sure that we cover all the things we need to cover on this call. And that's hugely important to me. I cannot tell you the number of times I've been on a call, whether it be a group or a one-on-one, and felt like a little block popping up, and just like taking a beat, even if I'm just saying the prayer. One time it happened, I said the prayer to myself.
It changed. Yeah.
It changed. And I was laughing with my client, like, oh my gosh, we found the best like program for her. Like it just came to us. And she confessed that she had been praying the same as that time that I was praying.
Wow.
Plus we're like, we knew like we weren't getting what the purpose was, right? And then we both checked in, and then God was like, okay, you're going to check in with me. I'm giving you the answer. Amazing.
Yeah. She just love that. Gosh, I live for those moments. I love it so much, because we can do a lot. The reality is we can do a lot on our own. We can do a lot in our own strength, but it's so much harder.
Why would you want to?
Why? We make it so hard. We make it so hard.
We have the best mastermind partner in the whole universe, because he created the universe. So like, why not?
Oh, that's good. Yes. Is that on your sales page? You need to put that on your sales page.
I'll go in and add.
Good. Okay, Sara, tell us how people can find you and get involved with you.
Yes. Okay. So I am everywhere on social media as Sara Anna Powers, no H on the Sara. My website is saraannapowers.com, SaraAnnapowers.com. And then for the Magnify Mastermind, you can go to saraannapowers.com/magnify.
Awesome. And now that mastermind, is that time sensitive or is it an ongoing thing?
It is time sensitive. So definitely people want to, I mean, we are starting officially in January, but there's also awesome bonus support going on through the end of the year. So the sooner people hop in, the better. And there are limited spaces. So at some point we'll have to shut it.
Okay. So at the bare minimum, if listeners are listening to this and it's past that time, make sure you sign up for her email and you can get on the wait list or something like that for sure.
You can always go to the page. When we do close it down, we'll hook it to a wait list. So you can always check it out if you happen to be listening later and get on a wait list for when we open up for 2020.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, girl, thank you so much. You are a passionista. Excited for all that you're doing.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been a privilege to come on the show today, and I'm so on fire for everything that you're doing. You're so inspiring, and I'm just so blessed to know you.
Well, thank you, sis.